Hello! Happy December! Thank you so much for joining me again, and today I have another fun tag video for you done by Spread Book Joy, and I shall tag them down below and everything, and all the prompts will be down below. But let's get into the evolution of a reader tag. The first question is what you read. How has your taste in books changed much? Or has your taste in books changed much? Over the years, yes. I think I started off as a little kid loving all the fantasy stuff, the Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. I think I only really started reading horror books when I was a teenager because I watched a lot of horror movies and I realized that I wanted to write horror books because I was always going to write something. I wanted to write horror stories, so I figured, I don't know why I never thought of writing fantasy, but I figured I should start reading horror books, and that started off with Stephen King and went on to Shirley Jackson and all kinds of fun things that I found on this channel as well. So I was also given some adult books that I should not have been given when I was a kid, but they didn't do me any real harm that I know of, and I definitely learned some from them. So I think yeah, it has changed, but for the better in my opinion, and I still love to read fantasy, and I love to read all kinds of non-fiction or even just literary fiction today as well. Next one is how you read. Has the format of your reading changed much? So not really. I've always loved a good hardback. I love good paperback. The only change really is that when I went to college, I was studying English, and it was just easier and faster if I bought ebooks. So that's when I first downloaded the Kindle app and got some of the classics on there. Also, it was a lot easier because I was reading some really old 17th, 18th century books. They're in the public domain. It's just easier to get free copies of them online. So I definitely read a lot more ebooks now. Other than that, you'll generally always find me with a book in my bag. How much you read. Do you read more or less than previously? When do you read? And has how often you read changed? Do I read more or less than previously? Less than when I was a kid, because I was just voracious. I would read absolutely anything that was within reach. Really dropped off in college because this always happens. College just ruins your motivation for that kind of thing, especially when there are books that you have to read. I've brought it back up again since 2018, so starting my blog and starting this channel has really helped. So I'm back to reading a lot, but definitely not as much as 6-year-old me was. When do I read? Whenever, when I'm on the bus, when I'm at work and there's nothing to do. Generally, I'll fall asleep reading something. I read a few chapters before bed. Because of the Kindle, I can just read wherever and whenever. So that's good, but I don't think there's ever an inappropriate time. Unless you're at a funeral or something, maybe. I don't know, you can read at my funeral, I don't care. Has how often you read changed? Slightly. Well, I would have been reading every day anyway, except for that dip from college. I guess I don't read every single day now because sometimes I'm working on other things. I'm working on my own writing and stuff, and being an adult, you know, have to worry about bills and stuff. 6-year-old me didn't do that, so probably a little bit less than before, but I still try and read as much as possible. And the final question is, how has Booktube changed you as a reader? So it has. I feel like there's pros and cons to it. It's definitely a motivation to read more because then you can make videos about books and stuff. You get a lot of recommendations and you find a lot of books through other people's channels that you've never heard of before, or even by doing readathons and stuff. The prompts will push you to pick up a book that you weren't necessarily going to read, and then you can find good books. When I started my channel, I was definitely taking on too much and reading too many arcs and accepting too many arcs and just thinking I constantly had to read new books like all the time in order to keep up with people and sort of put a lot of pressure on myself. I do think now when I'm reading books or when I finished a book, I think, what video could this fit into, or will this be a standalone review, or will I do it in a recap or something? So there are kind of thoughts like that, but I'm not putting too much pressure on myself anymore. So it does affect your reading whenever you're making videos as well, but I think I've kind of struck a good balance now where I'm not putting too much pressure on myself and I am enjoying what I read. So that is my tag for today. As with my previous tags, I shall be tagging people down below, but I'm gonna go back and check and make sure they haven't done it before, so I'm not re-tagging them. But thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I hope you're having a good December. If you want another video to watch, you can check out one of my other 5-minute vlogs, and I shall see you tomorrow for another small bite of a video.